Okay, what's up, guys? And today I just finished reading The Empire of Necromancers by Ashton Smith. And oh my goodness, it's the first story of the of his Zothic cycle, and it's utterly amazing. I love it. Like I first started off reading his fantasy, like the City of Flame and his macabre story, Genius Loki, and they're all right. But right here, his people I've heard in reviews and Clark Ashton Smith fans that his Oblique Cycle is his best like work. Is where his best work is at, and yeah, that was not dubitable. It's clearly true when you start reading the cycle because I just read the first one already, the the Empire of Necromancers, and wow, it, it's like something unprecedented. And it really is. Like I remember watching another review of this story on a YouTube video, and they said the world building was was pioneered by Clark Ashton Smith in fantasy stories or in the fantasy genre in general, because fantasy wasn't really a thing, and this is in the 30s. So I have it right here. I have the Bison Books publication of The Lost Worlds of Clark Ashton Smith, and it has the first and the second story chronologically. So the second story that was released in the Zodiac cycle chronologically was is The Isle of the Torturers, and I will be reading this after I finish this video. But right now I just finished reading the Empire the Empire of the Necromancers, and wow. Now this is an action scene. Alright, so basically it's two guys. In my imagination I'm thinking of them as Berbers, like African black individuals, and they're from the island of Na, and then they move to Zothic, the continent of Zothic, they're ostracized from a group of people that have a different culture from them, in in terms of like using spells to bring back the dead, and they're ostracized for having that ability, and so they leave, and then they're left stranded on a desolate city that, according to the story, um, a year before was affected severely by pestilence, and so lots of them died from this pestilence disease, and so they were buried. They were just on the floor, skeletons, and the crows must have eaten them. And the theme is like ancient Egyptian, like fantasy, like Oriental type feeling. So they're mummies, like they're wrapped in bandages and golden stones, and so basically Conrad Schmidt has always been writing these type of fantasies. Like if you read his novel, his first and last novel he ever wrote, he was 14 years old, and he talked about Oriental stories. He'll write Oriental stories even at 14 years old, and it was influenced by his father, because his father was a nomadic individual, and he's from the British Empire, so he'll travel to India, South America, um, so and the British Empire at the time had India, and so yeah, his father got his son into Oriental stories and all that fantasy stuff, like spells and prophecies and ancient Egypt. So anyways, uh these two Berbers uh, find this desolate city, and they start bringing the individuals back to life. These dead individuals that are unburied, they bring them back to life, and they keep on doing it. And then they take over the city, and then they travel to another desolate city called Saint Cor, I believe. And they they make a huge mistake. They relive the peasants. They bring back to life the peasants and everybody. But once they make it to the temple, to like this spectacle building edifice of the city, once they get in there, they not only bring the peasants back to life, but they also bring the nobles and wealthy and kings and empresses back to life as mummies and enthralled. So they obey the orders of the Berbers. And was it? Yeah, they bring to life they bring them to life. The Berbers bring the nobles back to life, which was a huge mistake because the nobles actually managed to escape from the enthrallment, from the witchcraft or magic that they used um on them. And so they go on this story, and it's kind of cringy sort of, because and then they go on talking about like, oh, there's a prophecy, there's a mission, an ancient mission or ancient lore hidden in the tombs that says, these people are gonna come in and take over and you know curse you. And so yeah, that happens. And so one of the nobles, which is called Histayan, who was a king for most of the empire, most most of the empire's lifetime, Histayan, and Illyrior, which is his grandson, who was also a king of the empire. Illyrio and Histayan both cooperate with each other and work with each other to take down the Berbers. And so they go into an ancient tomb to look for the prophecy or mission or ancient scripts that tell them what to do, so they can take down the Berbers. So get they get the sword. They go into this ancient tomb, hidden secretive tomb, and then they find the sword, a really sharp sword, metal sword, and scriptures and other artifacts. And so they go, and then Hussein is the one that's gonna commit. Hussein needs to assassinate and like slash the Berbers. And so the Berbers, they're in their couch in the fancy living room of the edifice or spectacle of the building. And during the couches, peasants are serving, or nobles, other nobles are serving them wine, bread, grapevines, like good foods, And then so by the time Hussein gets into that room, they're asleep on their purple couches and just knocked out because they just had fun partying because they rebuilt their empire successfully and everything. And so Hussein slashes them both. And I'm gonna read you this scene right here. I love this scene. This is like the best part out of the whole story. This is another thing. This is the climax. This is the first story I read from Clark Smith that actually had some decent, good climax. Like he actually gets to something, and this is where it's at, where Hussein slashes and kills the two Berbers, and it's a really amazing scene. He poetically describes it. Upheld by the ancient prophecy and lore of the bright tablets, Hussein lifted the great sword and struck off the head of Mumtamor and the head of Sadasma, which were the two Berbers, each with a single blow. Then, as had been directed, he quartered the remains with mighty strokes, and the Necromancers gave up their unclean lives and lay supine without movement, adding a deeper red to the rose and a brighter hue to the sad purple of their couches. So there you go. Hussein slashes the two Berbers, and he describes how, and then after that, he sliced them with one strike, both of their heads, and then not only that, he says he quartered the bodies. Quartered, I had to look this up, but quartered meant like he divided their torsos into smaller pieces. So he not only slashed them, beheaded them with one slash for each, but he cut them to pieces with his sword. So he incessantly just kept on stabbing their torsos until it went to small little bits, which is brutal. That's scary. Now that's that's amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They kill him, and the end part is also creepy. So basically, the Hussein is trying to get revenge or trying to bring back his empire from these few Berbers that took it over, even though they were dead and no longer existed. So, but Mamentorum and Sadasma men say their quartered bodies crawl to and fro to this day in Yotherium, finding no peace or respite from their doom of life and death. So basically their quartered their corpse, their chopped up corpse are literally crawling, moving by themselves, trying to search for Hussein, whom he locked himself in the tomb with his grandson Alira. So they're in the labyrinth or maze in the edifice, looking for them, as discussing a chopped up corpse. So that's creepy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That happens, and I would say this is the best, certainly the best story out of all of the stories I've read so far from Clark Ashton Smith. I'm gonna read his Zothique cycle. I'm gonna continue on reading his Zothique cycle. All of his 16 stories, and yeah. So the video after this one is gonna be the Isle of Tortures. And I'm also gonna do it chronologically. So I'm gonna do Necromancers, the Isle of Torturers, the Dark Eidolon, and then just chronologically just publish reviews of the Zolcic cycle. So I rate this story definitely like a 9 out of 10. It's dense prose along with great plot. You can't beat that.